Do you remember your first time?
What the fuck?
A video game's first. It's what can be the birth of a fruitful franchise. Sometimes. It's an exciting time, all things considered. There's a lot a game's first could do, like the first Super Mario Bros. On the NES, cemented not only Nintendo but Mario as a flagship in the video game industry. Or how about Valve and Half-Life? Their first game right out of the gate, and it set the modern example for what any first-person shooter should look or play like. Explosive reviews and more awards than you can even count. There are plenty of franchises or companies' first games that have left an impact on the gaming industry in one way or another, and have left fond memories in the minds of people for years. Then there are those games that can be pushed so far back into people's cerebellum that the mere thought of it could classify as a mental illness.
So you guys want to play Street Fighter 1?
Oh no.
Ah yes, the forgotten first, the omitted original, the repressed premiere, Street Fighter 1. I recently had these types of games on my mind, the forgotten ones, questioning myself, why were they forgotten? Or at least not talked about as much as their sequels. Now, the easy answer would be, they aren't as good, but that answer doesn't satisfy my gamer chub. I want to know for myself, no matter how messy it may be.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with this shit.
I know talking about Destiny 1 may be an odd pick for a starter, but I didn't think it would hurt to take a look at it. Because let me tell you, when this game died, it died. It might be that I'm not the biggest fan of Destiny, so I have some... I just feel like I never hear anyone talk about it unless it's in reference to bra sizes. Well, okay, correction. I do hear people talk about it, but it's mainly because I'm surrounded by Destiny freaks. Although, outside from them, I hear not a peep, not a squeak, not a... leak? Either way, I think mainly the reason why it doesn't come up more often is because not a lot of people like it, and it was kind of disappointing and boring. I don't know, but a lot of the issues people had with D1 got fixed in D2, except for the boring part. My bias aside, at least Destiny 1 still kind of has an active-ish community and fans that finally remember it. Unlike Titanfall 1. When Titanfall 2 came out, I thought that was the first one. Even though Titanfall 1 sold over 10 million copies, it just never really had that standing ground, unlike its younger brother. The whole idea and everything was there, for sure. Badass mech battles, smooth action gameplay, a nice multiplayer, but I think beta_ace_x under this Reddit post exclaimed it best. To quote, "There was a serious problem with the game's content, even after making the DLC free. There just isn't enough longevity in the game to keep people playing for years like they do with the Battlefield game. It sold due to hype, and while it was a good game, I imagine EA wanted another Titan of a shooter, pun intended, and didn't get it in terms of DLC sales or player population, so they probably wouldn't consider it a success." Though what I feel really put Titanfall 1 into the dirt was the recent server hacks. As early as 2018, both Titanfall 1 and 2 game servers started experiencing server hacks, and they only continued to grow and grow. Until recently, where it got so bad with DDoS attacks, ransomware, and all that shit, fans had to beg EA to do something about the spread instead of focusing on Apex Legends. So much so that Titanfall fans were gonna stage a hack on Apex Pagans to get some attention, cause EA was doing jack shit. Although after some time, they were able to fix the Titanfall 2 servers. On the other hand, Respawn just let Titanfall 1 slowly die off. Hell, it's not even on programs like Steam or Xbox Game Pass anymore. It's just unfortunate that the Titanfall series has had a bad run like this. Unlike... With Half-Life 1 fresh on the scene, modders were able to tweak and add things to the game and make it a completely new thing. Therefore, we have the birth of Counter-Strike and Team Fortress. Counter-Strike... nothing. There is no subtitle. Well, technically, its original release is called Half-Life... Counter-Strike. But fuck you, okay? Whatever. Look at this Dust 1. Counter-Strike 1 is interesting. Obviously, it's bare. and not just with the servers, but in, well, mostly everything else. I feel like I'm walking through an abandoned town in the West. That also might be because I don't know how to add the bots. I think that it's good though, because it gives me a chance to walk around and enjoy sightseeing on these early version of maps. Also, there happens to be a story mode in Counter-Strike Condition Zero. Released in 2004, this version of the game features some updated models, maps, and as said, quote-unquote, story mode. Yet, it's not really a story mode, it's just a compilation of some missions and whatnot. It's fun. There's not really much to say about it, aside from there's more replay value added. Visually, the game is charming, right in line with the classic Counter-Strike look and just overall Valve look of that time. Dusty, rough, a beautiful aspect of the Gold Source engine. Nothing out of the norm. Then there's Team Fortress 1.
Who is this man?
Jesus Christ, talk about a glow up. Looking at the original Team Fortress is just, ugh. It is such a oddity, especially because 1, it's using Half-Life assets, and 2, the popularity of TF2 and its unique art style, characters, weapons, emotes, maps, and everything else. Surprisingly, I was able to find a pretty active server and played a couple of rounds, and you know, it's Team Fortress. Looking at the game is very much like looking at a sonogram, but it's still a fun game to play. All the characters you will get to love are here, but play like semi-different. I think it's funny that the pyro has its, you know, flamethrower, shotgun. Oh yeah, then a fucking incendiary cannon. It's little changes like that to the TF character's arsenal, which is, it's just funny to me. Though I look at TF1 as the rickety old man yelling at TF2 for being too energetic. Counter-Strike 1 is a familiar stomping grounds that you can walk around and go, ooh, ah, as you take notice of where a bunch of like CS staples stemmed from. Kind of like the first COD, Star Wars Battlefront, Elder Scrolls, and Tekken. Except 1 out of the 4 will have a Steve Bloom sergeant yelling at you.
Move it, ladies! This is not your Aunt Fanny's dance!
Some of these first games are nothing special, like the first COD or Star Wars Battlefront. COD is just like any typical World War II shooter from around this time. It doesn't really have any charm. Unlike future COD games, well, some future COD games, with their memorable characters like Captain Price and his desire for someone to get him some soap, then Star Wars Battlefront is, well, naked? I talked about this game in more length in my Star Wars Battlefront video I made a while ago, so for a better understanding, you should go check that out. Also, I know mentioning Tekken 1 might be another odd pick for some people, but if you actually take a look at Tekken 1 compared to 3, 4, and 7, it's aged in every aspect that you can imagine. It's kinda slow, floaty, and ugly. Oh my god, Jack, what did they do to you? Aside from the visual presentation of Kyuza and his face, Tekken is mostly normal-ish. Combat-wise, it is normal. And compared to 3D fighting games from around this time, it is one of the more advanced ones for sure. Nowadays though, there is some fine age to it, but not like wine. I would not want this in my wine. Despite me shitting on this game so far, Tekken 1 is still a competent fighting game with plenty of challenges to the arcade mode, especially with its unique combat style. It isn't bad, it's just rusty, and I understand why people don't talk about it as much. You know, it's not bad. Unlike its rival series' first game. Holy shit in a toaster, I quickly understand why no one ever talks about Street Fighter 1. This shit is so, I don't even know. Everything is just so bad. For starters, the movement in this is so rough and slow, and there's input delay. Input delay in a fighting game? It's not like a millisecond of delay or anything like that, but I could probably pop out 3 kids and start a mortgage by the time Ryu lands and throws his punches. To top onto that, there are shitty hitboxes, random glitches like, how did you get there? To think that this is made by Capcom, Jesus Christ. I could keep going on and on about how every opponent has the same voice. The combat is stiffer than a tit job with 2 boulders. Look at my notes. The difficulties for said opponents is through the fucking roof. Their agility and speed is unstoppable, and from completely out of nowhere. Yeah, point is, this game is rough. Though, one more thing I want to add. Jesus Christ, this game ugly. Ryu doesn't even look like himself. This guy has Peter Griffin butt chin. And the whole presentation just looks bootleggish. Although, to be fair, the original Street Fighter 2 wasn't the prettiest looker either. To backtrack a bit, all of these games I've mentioned have little seeds planted around that would sprout into beautiful sequels we all know and love. Now, I want to take a look at 2 specific games that had that aspect but changed drastically after their first or second game. Allow me to introduce Grand Theft Auto and Fallout. GTA 1 has always interested me because it's hard to find. It and the sequel are listed on the Steam store, but you can't buy them. They aren't listed on anything like the PS Store or bundled in any collections. The only way you can play them in the Lord of our year 2023 is finding a copy for the PS1, Windows, or the Game Boy. Anyways, Grand Theft Auto 1, released in November 1997, is not what I was expecting on first play. Maybe stupid of me to think, but I thought it would be more like GTA 3, but just top down. And I'm not entirely wrong, but it is definitely way more arcadey in its approach. With a designated fart button!
It's beautiful.
Aside from that revolutionary aspect of game design, GTA 1 has no real structure to it. No story mode. It's mainly just go to phone, take job, do job, repeat. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just not what I was expecting, especially from GTA, one of the franchises known best for their high quality stories and whatnot. It's just not what I was expecting, especially the top-down perspective. I remember that it hit me by surprise the first time I laid my eyes on this. It's weird. What's even more weird though is the switch in controls. Take for example when you're on foot, right? Press X to run forward. Okay. And triangle to walk back. I'm sorry. What? Yeah, it's not a basic press up and go. It's press X and then use the left and right buttons to steer you. It's weird. The control scheme did get me confused because I'm used to the later games, so whenever I tried going backwards, I would just end up getting out of my car a lot. And that's pretty much it about GTA 1. People usually tend to like to talk about GTA 2 because it's the better game out of the first 2, but goddamn did the first one do a lot. Now, unlike Rockstar's mission to hide the 2 GTAs from public eye, Bethesda is much more loving when it came to the first 2 Fallout games, even though they weren't made by Bethesda. Fallout 1 was developed and published by Interplay Productions, with the second game's development being handled by Black Isle Studios. Released in October 1997, Fallout 1 is an isometric RPG. Whoa! You might be saying, isometric? I only know about mesometric. What the fuck is this point and click shit? To that I say, stop being an asshole. And yeah, GTA and Fallout did not start out as the big open world first and third person juggernauts that they soon would become. The reason for Fallout's shift in gameplay when it came to the third game and onwards is mainly because of the Bethesda buyout. But it's fun to play this in an isometric RPG style. It feels right, you know? Especially since mostly all of the original staples are here. The Pip-Boy, the vaults, their looks, the Vault Boy, skill points, special stats, fuck it, you name it. Now, what do I have to say about the game? Not much. I didn't get that far into it. Not that I didn't like it, I'm just not very good out and I'm trying to get this video out. But I did get fucking drawn in, so much so that I kept wanting to go back. The whole atmosphere and aesthetic works really well, and I love how the game looks. I would love to dedicate a whole video on the Fallout series sometime in the future, so who knows? Maybe one day. I'll get there.
So that was a look at some obscure or forgotten first games.
honestly, it was fun to dig back into some games I've never really played before. You know, whether they were good or bad. I did originally have another section of this video planned, but I think due to time constraints and whatnot, I might save it for a later time, you know, later down the line in the future, because I do want to get this video out within this month and not 3. But I would also just love to return to this topic as well, because God knows I missed a lot of first games too. You know, like Monster Hunter 1, Battlefield 1, Far Cry 1, a company's first game, like, you know, stuff like that, etc. and etc. You know, I feel like I forgot some. You didn't talk about Gex 1!